Before you start watching this video, I will highly recommend you to watch my earlier video on R objects. That will give you some kind of a context on the topics that we will be covering in this video. Okay, so I assume you had watched my earlier video on R objects. So without further ado, let's dig into the R vectors. The most primitive object in R is a vector. The vector is a group of values with similar data type. For example, a character vector will have all the character elements in it. A numeric vector will have all the numbers in it. Vectors are created as per data type. Numeric vector, it's a vector of real numbers. Integer vector, it's a vector of integers. Character vector, it's a vector of characters. Logical vector, it's a vector of Boolean values, true or false. And complex vector, it's a vector of complex values. So let's open the RStudio and create these vectors. I have prepared the script to show you the vectors of different data types. Let's begin with the numeric vector. Numeric vector is a vector of numbers. The numbers are real numbers. For example, 12.4567 is a real number. So it has a whole number and a fraction. All the numbers in R are treated as numeric objects. This means even if you have a number say 15, behind the scenes it is treated as double precision numeric object, such as 15.00. Now here I've created an object called temp_num. This object is assigned a value of 15. So if I call temp_num, the R will return a value stored inside it. Now this example may look like a scalar, but in R there are no scalar objects. Scalars are considered as vector with length 1. Now let's create a vector of multiple numbers. To create a vector of multiple numbers, we have to use a concatenate function. So this C function is called as a concatenate function. It concatenates or binds all the values. In this function, we have to pass all the vector values separated by comma. So we have created a numeric vector of real numbers and stored it in an object temp_num1. If you want to check the data type of this vector, so before that, let me execute this. Yeah, so here is a vector temp_num1, which is a numeric type, and here are the values stored inside it. And if you want to check the data type of this vector, then we can use the function called class. We have to pass on the name of the object in it, and if I execute this, then you can see that the type of vector temp_num is numeric. You can also see the data type of temp_num1 with is.numeric function. Now is.numeric function will return a logical value. If the data type is numeric, then it will return a true. If it is not numeric, then it will return a false. Integer vector. Remember, all the numbers in R are treated by default as numeric objects. So if we explicitly want an integer vector, we need to specify the L suffix. So here is a number followed by the L suffix, which creates the integer object. So if I execute this, then you can see in the environment pane temp_int has a type integer vector. And if I check the data type using class function, it is also giving me the integer, and with the help of is.integer function, it is giving me the output as true. That means the object being created is the integer object. Now moving on to the character vector. Character vector is a group of strings. Here a character does not mean literally a single letter or symbol in a language, but it means a group of letters and symbols. Both double quotation marks and single quotation marks can be used to create a character vector. So here you can see the hello world. Now this is a single string because its entire sentence is inside the inverted quotes. However, we can create a character vector by splitting the string up into two separate characters. Note that how we have used the inverted quotes for hello and world, and both these characters are separated by the comma. So temp_char is a character vector. Here you can see in the environment pane the data type is character, and if you check the class of this vector, it's a character class. Is.character gives us the true, and is.character gives us the true value. Now moving on with the logical vector. Logical vector stores a group of trues and false. Basically it's a boolean vector, boolean values, trues and false. You can also use abbreviations to create the logical vector. For example, instead of writing true, you can write capital T. Instead of writing false, you can write capital false, capital F. So let me create the vector here, and if I check the class, it's logical. Is.logical should give me the true value. And by the way, if we use any kind of a comparison operator, greater than, less than symbol, equal to symbol, the output shall always be a logical. So here is the output. The output shall always be a logical vector. Now here's the first element of numeric vector is getting compared with the first element of second numeric vector, and because 3 is greater than 1, the true output is given. Similarly, 4 is greater than 2, that's why again the true output is given, but the last element of the vector, the 5, is less than 10, and that's why you see the false output is produced. The complex vectors, they are not so regularly used in data science projects, so we will not going to cover those in detail here, but this is how you can create the complex vector. You have to use I in front of a number to create a complex number. 1 plus 2i is a complex number. Okay, but these data types are not so much used in the projects, in the data analysis projects. Great. So in this video we covered the vectors of various data types. Vectors are the most basic objects in R. In the next video we will look at how to access the elements of the vectors. This operation is called as subsetting. So I will see you in the next video.